Hey everyone, welcome to week 62. This is day 5, Friday. This is the last day of our ongoing Who Are You week. I think we've had a pretty cool week, and we're going to end with something that doesn't necessarily have to do with art, but it's something that I really enjoy doing. So we'll see you guys next week. Next week, new theme. Bye.
Okay, let's get started. This is day 5. This is going to be our last day on our Who Are You week. I love pizza. I think yesterday was pretty evident that this is one of my favorite things in the world. I don't eat it every single day. You know, if some of you were worried, don't worry, please. I would never eat it every single day. So come on. You know, every other day, it's pretty good. Pretty good. You know, I'm going to say that while my body is certainly not a temple, I do other things to try to keep my body and my mind in balance. And today, for our last day, we're going to speak about one of those things that I love to do that I think keeps everything in equilibrium. And I think it's something that has been threatened by the pandemic. While I haven't been able to do it in the amounts that I would used to do it, that would honestly clear up my mind incredibly, I've been able to understand how important it is in my life. So today is going to be something that's really simple, which is walking. And we're going to try to tie it to different moments in my life where I've had the opportunity to walk long distances. And I've considered them to be some of my most amazing moments, some of the most introspective moments that I've had in my life. So I'm going to start by saying that walking to me was probably an extension of something that I used to love to do when I was younger. Sadly, that's not something that I do nowadays, but I certainly did it when I was younger, which was running. And for some reason, running to me was something that I was good at, I think. And the only reason I think I was good at, it's because my mind was blank. I even did this thing in my mind where I would convince myself that running was not really hard, because all you had to do is take one step, and as soon as you took that one step, you just had to take another one. So in my mind, it was just a succession of steps, and that was it. And when I saw it like that, when I could convince myself that the only thing I should be worried about while I was running was just another step, it became manageable. And I ran half marathons, and that was super cool. And I remember thinking that while it was tough, the toughest thing, at least for me, was always thinking, oh, I'm on kilometer 3, there's, 18 to go. And you end up concentrating on the distance that you have left instead of trying to pace yourself. And those distances can become overwhelming. Like when you run a marathon, if you're thinking, I'm tired at the 20 kilometer mark and I'm not even halfway there, that can become crushing. That can make the act of running incredibly painful. I miss running in the sense, not that I wanted to be better at running a half marathon or a marathon, or I wanted to pay attention to my time and lower my time every single chance I had. No, honestly, I could care less about those things. I think that if you like to jog or if you like to run, your objective doesn't necessarily have to be that you have to compete. You don't even have to compete with yourself. It doesn't matter. I don't know why everything has to be like a competition, even with yourself, like a competition with myself. Like, who cares? You can learn so much about yourself just running and paying attention, and that's it. And you don't need to look at distances. You don't need to look at the watch. All you're doing is paying attention to your body. All you're doing is learning about your body. And I always thought that that was more amazing than anything that the watch could tell me. Like if I felt great and the watch said that I ran, the same distance in 30 more seconds than the last time, who cares? I felt great. And I always wanted to push myself, but just to try and understand my body, to understand the limits of your body. I kind of think that that's how I view painting. Every single day I sit down and I paint, and I'm not trying to paint better. I could tell you guys that. I'm not thinking that I have to push myself to try and paint better. I'm not looking at past paintings and saying, I want to see if I could go a little bit further. I mean, the idea of further maybe is in my mind, but it's not in my mind as a better painting. That's not what it means. Further in my mind means that I'm going to explore places that I didn't know existed within my own painting practice. That I find super cool. Like I'm venturing to unexplored territory. That's amazing. That is so amazing. But that's the cool part, not the part where I feel, okay, I'm in this new territory and I have to make a great painting. And this experience is only going to be worth it. This journey is only going to be worth it. It's only going to be valuable if the painting that comes out of it is a good one. No, not at all. Not at all. So I think it's the same thing. I think when I went out jogging or running, it was never about lowering a time. It was never about going, a little bit farther. That thirst for being competitive, I just don't have it in me. There's not a bone in my body. I mean, maybe if Danny and I are playing Mario Kart, maybe that's when my competitive side manifests itself. But in painting, oh my God. If anyone challenged me to a duel in painting, if anyone ever said to me, I'm a better painter than you, I would just say, yes, no to the duel, because who cares? That's lame. And yes, you're better than me. That was quick. We got there super quickly. We don't need to do a rap battle to see who's a better painter. You got it. You won. If you want, I'll make a post. I'll make it public and say you won. Hashtag you won, you're better. I just don't care about those things. I never have, and I never will, because they don't mean anything. They mean nothing. And in painting, oh, please, they are useless. And I think that's the way I've seen every single sport that I've been part of. I used to swim. I swam for many years in my life. And it was the same thing for me. I used to love training, and I sucked at meets. I never got the times that I needed to get just to be part of our city team. I could never do it. I never did it. I don't know. I think that deep inside there was something that was stopping me, saying like, I don't know, maybe I don't care about that. I just want to show up and train and, train really hard, and that's it. And it's almost like, well, what are you training for? And I would say, well, to train. It was the same thing with swimming. I would just love breathing and looking at the tiles in the bottom of the pool. We didn't have music back then. All you could do was just listen to yourself breathe and maybe listen to the person that was kicking in front of you. That's about it. I think that side of doing these repetitive exercises is probably the closest thing that I was to meditating when I was younger, and I just didn't realize it. I never understood how swimming or running these long distances could be a meditative act. And now that I'm older, that painting has sort of taken that place, I understand how those moments were actually super, super important for me. And one of the things that I've understood that can become these very, very important mini meditative acts is just walking. And I don't have to walk like super long distances. Like today, for example, it was like a 35-minute walk to my mother's house. And, when I walk that distance, I'm thinking. It's almost as if my mind is blank, but is also thinking very clearly at the same time. Very, very clearly. I don't know why I have clarity when I'm doing these very repetitive acts. It's almost like the action itself puts the busybody to work. So your body's like, I can't worry about anything else. I have to either walk or run or swim. And I guess that leaves a space for your mind to say, okay, now that the stupid body is busy doing something, we can have a little bit of time for ourselves. And I think that little bit of time for myself is something that I cherish so, so much, that I needed. And that's why I said that this pandemic actually threatened it. And it's been very difficult and very saddening, to be honest, to know that this is a sacrifice that I've had to make. This is something that I just can't do at the level which I used to do it. The regular walks that I used to have were cut. So I'm doing like 30% of the walking that I used to do. And that kills me a little bit. I mean, aside from that being a bit of exercise that is always very, very healthy to do and to have in your everyday life, for me, it was important, I think, emotionally and mentally. I think that side was probably even more important than just the physical part of it, the part where you're just exercising every single day. I mean, that's relevant. But the other side of it is the one that I think I truly, truly miss. And one of the things that I miss terribly is just walking when I was able to travel. I love traveling. I think that almost every single person in this world loves to travel. I love to meet new people. I love to travel to cities or to countries that I've never been to. I love to have a glimpse into new cultures. I love to get lost. And I know that sounds corny, but I think it has to do with the walking. I think that I can start walking and I won't even pay attention. It's not like, okay, I'm going to walk north or I'm just walking right next to this river. I mean, for sure, if a city has a river running through it, and if you just follow the river, that in itself is a really good way to know where you are. But sometimes I'm just like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, east, west, north, south. It's fine. I just want to walk. And I just want to pay attention, not in the sense of where am I? Am I going to get lost? Does this look like a good neighborhood, bad neighborhood? Is this a nice street? Is this not a nice street? Does this look like it's an okay place for tourists? No, I don't care about those things. I just kind of like walk. And I pay attention in the sense that I'm aware of my surroundings, but I'm not trying to GPS my way towards somewhere. I'm not trying to say, okay, I'm heading to this very touristy place and I'm going to take the off route and I want to go through the small twisting streets. No, not really. I'm better off if I just kind of walk and get to know a neighborhood. I'm just paying attention to the character of the streets, the character of the buildings, the doors, how the light filters through those streets. That's what I'm paying attention to, but I'm not trying to head anywhere. I didn't think about this before I started this voiceover, but I'm noticing that running, jogging, swimming, and walking, even painting, they all kind of suggest a destination. They do. It's a manner of reaching somewhere. You can swim towards someplace. You can walk towards someplace. You can run towards that place and get there even quicker. But I think that place, that quote-unquote place, that destination, is just non-existent for me. I'm being super honest right now, but I don't see it. Like, I'm closing my eyes and I'm trying to understand where I'm headed. And I'm talking like in the bigger sense in life, or if I think about, our painted lives and I think about this exercise that we've been doing. What was the objective? Where are we headed? Where do we want to go? Are we closer to that place now that we are, almost a year and a half into this project? When I really think about it, I don't know what that place is. I don't get it. I don't understand it. It's almost super, super vague. And I think I like that it's vague. I like that it doesn't exist because it means that I can make every single step that I take, be it like a new painting or be it literally, that next step that I take when I'm walking or jogging or running, be that place that I wanted to be. All I needed to do was take a step and I was there. That's the place where I needed to be. And then if I took another step, that's the place where I needed to be. And I think the paintings that we've done every single day, they're just steps. I always try to speak about building a road, constructing something. It's almost like you're laying down bricks. This thing is taking shape. And it's not that there's this design that I want to fulfill. I feel that I am building towards something, but I have no idea. There are no plans. Like, I lost my plans. Or it's almost like as if I had this tiny little flashlight and all I could see was a meter in front of me, a yard in front of me. And that's it. And that's all I could care about. Like, my universe is just that meter in front of me. Like, I can't be worried about what's 10 meters in front of me because I can't see it. That goes beyond what I'm capable of seeing. So why am I going to bother with that? What's the point in stressing about something that I can't see? And I think my personality and me as a painter, as an artist, and this is scary, but even me as a father, I just can't see that far. But I think that that's kind of cool. That's why I enjoy my kids when they're here. That's why I love every single day I can spend with Danny. That's why I'm grateful for every single day that people support us and we can still do this very strange exercise that we set out to do with painting every single day. I can do these things and I can live at this moment because I just can't look beyond it. Honestly, it's almost like it's so foggy that it's impenetrable for me. So I think that that's the core reason why I love to walk and why when I travel, I can walk until my legs just kind of crumble underneath my weight. I love when I travel and I have a free day. For example, if I'm doing a workshop and I have a day off before having to return home, and I use that day just to get to know the city that I'm at. And I always look at the map and I think, well, that distance seems walkable. And many times it's like, oh, this is like 20 miles away. And I'm always like, yeah, that's fine. We could do that. And I never think like, well, you're going to walk 20 miles, but you got to walk back 20 miles. So that's going to be 40 miles in a day. You're going to be tired. I never think of that. I never think of the return trip. I never ever think of that. People can say like, oh, just take the bus back or just take the subway back. Just, hail a cab. Come on, dude, like public transportation. I could tell you this, for example, the first time I was in London, and London is made up of all these boroughs that are very, very different from one another. It's very beautiful, very, very beautiful. But I had never been to London, and I knew that where I was teaching my workshop was very far from where I was staying. And it was the first day I remember I got there, and I always like to know where my workshops are. So I took the tube to the closest station to the workshop, and then I saw where I had to be the next day. And I could have taken the tube back to my Airbnb, but I was like, okay, let's walk it. Let's walk it. And it was far. It was very, very, very far. I mean, it probably took me about 3.5 hours, 4 hours to get back. But I loved it. I absolutely loved it because that was the way that I started to interact with this place. That's how I started to give myself a chance to understand this place, the character of this place. If it wasn't for that day, or at least this is what I tell myself, but if it wasn't for that day that I just set out to walk, that I decided that I had to walk, I wouldn't have had like the same sense of this city that I had for the next week that I had to be there. So it was very important for me. And there's something kind of cool when you just get to a new place, because a lot of people get super nervous when they're lost. And if I'm driving, for example, that's a little exasperating. But if I'm walking, I never get nervous. Never, ever, ever get nervous about getting lost. Because I tell myself, well, this is not my home. This is new. What am I supposed to do? Like, what do I expect of myself? To know where I'm at? No, this is a new place. I'm supposed to feel lost. And the moment I realized that, I'm like, I feel fine. It doesn't become overwhelming. It doesn't become scary. I'm just going to figure it out. And I love that I can take such a simple act as understanding these distances or this traveling just as a succession of single steps. I love that I can convince myself that if I break everything down to such a simple little act, then it becomes non-threatening. It actually becomes very, very peaceful. And as soon as I accept it, your body is going to be busy just taking those single steps at a time. And your mind is now just free. And you can reflect upon anything you like, and you can enjoy everything that's in front of you. So that's how we're going to end it for this week, walking. We're going to do something a little bit different next week. We had asked you guys, and a lot of you, a whole lot of you, were super cool to answer a question. Last week, I asked you guys what I should paint. And the reason I said this was because I've often spoken about how I don't think a good painting depends on the subject matter. I think the subject matter, yeah, sure, it's relevant because it is the subject of the painting. But I think painting lies beyond the subject matter. That's what I'm trying to say when I say that the subject of your painting doesn't matter. It's not that it holds no relevance. Of course it does. But I think that there's something bigger lying beyond the subject matter all the time. And I'm going to try to not prove, I don't care to try and prove anything here, but I'm going to put myself through this exercise of trying to paint what you guys tell me to paint. So at random, we're going to pick 5 things. Some of these things may be absolutely absurd, and they're going to be starting points for my paintings. And we're going to see if we can make paintings out of those things. So we'll put that to the test, and we'll see how that goes. But that's going to be next week. So as we say on Fridays, Danny, Samu, Fer, and myself, we thank you for the chance you gave us this week to be your company. And what we ask is that you consider giving us a chance to be your company next week. So thank you guys very much. We love you. We'll see you next week. Bye.